Oh, rods everywhere. Hi, I'm John White, and I'm probably like you getting some rods ready for the upcoming ice fishing season and looking to see what I can add to my collection. And I have quite a collection of them. I probably have the rods I want, and I don't know where they are. However, I'd like to talk a little bit about rods in maybe the progression of the season, because you don't have to rush to get things ready that you're not going to use right away. But anyway, what I do normally is I start out my season, because of the way that the ice progresses, of course, I start out my season pretty shallow, and I'm probably fishing for panfish. And for me, that panfish is mostly perch. And I'll be fishing anywhere from 10 feet of water to 40 feet of water. And we'll take it through the stages of the perch season, if you will, and maybe that'll help you choose the kind of equipment that you need or need to get ready. So on first ice, of course, perch are pretty aggressive, particularly the bigger perch. And that's where the bigger perch show up, and I call them tin smashers. And the reason for that is because I'm using a lot of tin. I'm using a lot of spoons early in the season, a slab grabber or a splinter spoon, or, oh, there's a lot of them out there, but they'll all serve you well early if you have the right equipment. And so, let's just talk about the rod for that. A lot of people think that you need an ultra-sensitive rod for perch fishing. Well, you certainly don't for first ice, and you don't need it for the tin smashers. When those fish hit, they hit. There's no mistake about it. They don't go up and nibble. They come in schools, they're big perch. They come up and they slam the spoons, and they can slam it anywhere from right on the bottom right to the surface in even 40 feet of water. Some of my best days have been fishing mid-column in 30 and 40 feet of water. Early in the year, of course. The rod that I use for spooning, in this case, is, now this is a Fenwick Elite Tech 28-inch medium light rod, and it has a pretty fast tip on it. Now many would say, well, that's a pretty beefy rod for perch. Well, it's not for big perch, and it's not for a spoon. It doesn't even require a lot of sensitivity, because in fact, there's no doubt about what happens. Perch comes in and smashes a spoon. You don't feel a little tick or anything. You're jigging a spoon, you let it idle, and all of a sudden, bang, there it is. So sensitivity isn't required, but it is a byproduct of a good quality rod anyway. So I use this rod here, and I have some others. I have this new Fenwick Techna rod, which is a 28-inch medium light rod again. And this newer rod's a little more sensitive. Again, I don't need the sensitivity, but it's good to have it there anyway. And of course, these rods can be crossover rods for early whitefish as well, and whitefish that are in the shallows where the perch are. Doesn't hurt to have a little bit more beef. And this I have loaded up with a splinter spoon, and I'll probably put another Pfluger President on it. It's one thing about using spoons, you can put a swivel on, but it's still going to tangle the line up. So if you get an inline reel, it will take a lot of that out and solve a lot of problems. For 30 to 40 feet of water, I'm just using fluorocarbon line. So I'm using 6-pound test, actually, for the first spoons to come out. Later in the season, when it gets a little more, when it gets slower, more noise on the ice, you're fishing with other equipment, might have to go down to a 4-pound test line. I never go below 4-pound test line. That's the type of rod that I'm using to start the season with. It's a medium light, anywhere from 24 to 28 inches. Could be longer, but not necessary. So as the season progresses and you start to move into lighter equipment, I actually stick with this same medium light rod, spoon on the bottom, and then I'll add a high hook for a drop shot in there, so I can use some small rubber baits, possibly a live bait, grubs, and other baits. But basically, it gives an option to the fish, so you can slash the spoon around for attention, and then they might come in and smack the top bait. So once we moved away from first ice, the bite gets a little tougher. It might be into late January, early February, maybe the February blaws. Sensitivity and visual aids become an issue. And so in this case, I'm using a 27-inch Elite Tech medium light rod, but it has this precept tip, they call it, and it's actually a fiberglass composite and ultra sensitive. And so you have a visual aid that you wouldn't have even with the most ultra-sensitive rod.
As the season wears on and fish aren't quite as aggressive, you have to change your tactics and your baits. This is a time when sensitivity or visual aids come into play. Very soft tip rods actually lose sensitivity. A fish that's actually mouthing a bait or staying still, there's not a lot of feel anyway. But these bright soft tip rods really add a visual aid, and this compensates for the lack of feel.
So next we're going to talk about big game rods for whitefish, trout, walleye. Remember, there's a Fenwick rod in it for every species, every technique, and every price range.
Available at Tremblay's Tackle Box in Orillia.